Hello everyone. This is Fosun. Today, I will share this kind of fabric. The effect of flowing around the text. Let's take a quick look at the project. One is cloning some planes. You can see it, okay. Some planes are on the surface of the text. You can see. And then, here is a. Here, in order to use the preposition, to read the path of the text spline here. For example, the spline of these two words. Let's create a new project. Turn off the gravity simulation here. OK, select a plane. And reduce it. The number of segments can be relatively high. 30, 114. You can see, which is about the right density. Create a new text spline. Change it to centered. Then, here, you can choose a slightly thicker font. So that the space in the middle, the space will be larger. OK, change it to a uniform 16. We need to duplicate one. Hide it here first. OK, select clone. Change to object. And drag the bar in. Then change the quantity to not match. OK, adjust the direction. Change to 90. Increase the volume. OK, it's almost like this. Then rotate it slightly to reduce the interweaving here. Make it narrower. That's about it. Then reduce the number of segments here first. Simulate adding a bath here. And then drag this spline over. This spline is a spline that does not participate in cloning. Let me explain why we use two splines. Because here, if we keyframe the text, because the style of the text changes, the overall number of points will change, which will cause it here. There will be a number of skip frames. Change it to a uniform text. Let's simulate a fabric label. Give it a higher bend. And stretch a little bit. Don't give too high. The friction here needs to be reduced a bit, about 0.1. When the friction is too high, it will gather at the turning point, and gather together, and not move forward. OK, let's change the spline here. I've already dragged one just now. Change this to radius. Let's change it to radius. Make it longer. OK. And then here. the intensity can be set higher. OK, turn off real-time display. Let's shrink the whole thing a bit. About like this. Play it. It now has a force pushing it upward. This situation is not right, so here. Check the reverse direction here. In this way, it will be sucked inward with the radius, instead of pushing outwards. Play it again. Let's deal with the interweaving here. OK, that's it. A little longer. OK. Now, it will shrink into this text effect. And then next, we need to make it into a flowing effect. It's still the same spline text we dragged in earlier. Change the blending mode to add. Then we need to give some offset along the path. You can see the default effect, without offset. It will run in this position, and it will stay fixed. But when we turn on the offset and turn on 100%, it will follow the text spline in a loop. Look. Now, because the force along the spline is too large, so we need to lower it a bit. Some of them are thrown out. Lower it a little. You can first increase the size here, and then increase the radius value here, and increase the overall strength here. Adjust the number of clones here. To make sure it doesn't overlap, make it a little wider. OK. Play it again. Enable this one. Let's shrink it a little. When the plane is too large, it's basically a little hard to see the appearance of the text. Make it narrower. Let's make it a little wider. OK, this is almost done. Stretch can be higher, and this value can be higher. Here, there is still some accumulation. We can relatively enlarge it a little bit. Okay. Here, it can be wider. And adjust its rotation. To avoid this kind of interweaving, increase the subdivision level. And simulate it again. Lower the friction. Okay, now the flow effect is done. Then, we need to enrich its effect. So we can add a random field here. Change to add. And then give it some animation. Now let's look at the default. You can increase the proportion a little bit. Now it has a sense of disturbance. It still has some clustering, which is not good looking. Let's readjust it. Let's lower it a bit here. Then adjust it. Enlarge the plane a little bit. And make it longer. Slightly tilt it. Don't be so straight. Okay, a little interweaving. Don't worry about it, play it. Here, increase the intensity a little more to make it flow faster. To avoid too much accumulation here. Let's change the way of C4D to C. Lower the number. Let's lengthen this plane a little more. And make it slightly wider. Play again. Okay, next. Apply a keyframe effect to the text. If you think this simulation is movement, if possible, and change it to another letter. Play again. due to the change in force. The change of the text spline, it will re-adhere to the shape after you changed it. Look at the side. There are some scattered cloth strips. Swim along with it. Then here we switch to other text. Okay, let's change it to only geometry visible first. We also need to add a thickness to it. Let's add one first to see. One is a little big. Point for is almost right. Then put it on a subdivision surface. This is the effect of smooth fabric. Okay, the new version of the cloth simulation. This simulation is also very powerful. Basically, there is no such phenomenon of interpenetration. Okay, this is the animation part for today. Let's go back here. Okay. Let's take a look at the rendering. For the background part, which is the way we often use before, you can see the material bowl. There is a gradient, and the light is added to it, and a large light is placed on the top to illuminate the background board. And then there is a transition. There is a transition from light to dark. This is also using a gradient color connection to give it color and some roughness. Let's take a look at the material of the main body. The lighting of the main subject. There are two lights. First, look at this one. This is from the side of the fabric. A main light is added. It's mainly to make the side part. We'll have a brighter and wider area. And this the shadow area, there is a dark color contrast. This light is mainly for reflection. It also turns off the diffuse light. There are some highlights to enrich the details of these edges. It may not be obvious. It's more obvious here. It's too dark here. Okay. Let's look at the material. The material actually uses 3 bump maps. The first one gives it a color, a blue or blue-gray color, which is the color mapped by the bump. This one gives a roughness. There are some smooth and rough areas, and some random areas. The third one is the displacement here. You can see it. There are some bumps and depressions. First, turn this up a bit. And then to the back of the shot. Okay. Here is a shallow bumpy texture. Right here. It was too high at 0.1. Should I put it lower, about 0.3? There is a little bit of this bumpy texture, but not so strong. Okay, this is the material of the main body. And these are some nodes that have been used before, but they are not needed. Okay, that's all for today. Thanks for watching.